Good afternoon and welcome to the news and sport from UTV Live. 4 police officers have died after their vehicle crashed on the Moygannon Road between Warrenpoint and Kilkeel. The Secretary of State, Sean Woodward, called it a profound tragedy, and the First and Deputy First Ministers, Peter Robinson and Martin McGuinness, extended their sympathies to the bereaved families. Paul Crummy reports from the scene.
Police guard the scene where 4 of their colleagues died during the early hours of this morning. The officers were on their way to a call for help from another officer in Warrenpoint. 2 of the police officers were full-time, the others were part-time. The crash happened just a few hundred yards behind me on the Moygannon Road, which is the main road between Warrenpoint and Kilkeel. The 4x4 vehicle the officers were driving in was the only vehicle involved.
The road, as I understand, was wet. It was obviously dark, being 4 o'clock in the morning. But other than that, it's probably too early to speculate whether the conditions were a factor. That will obviously be a major line of inquiry by the senior investigating officer, as it would be in any fatal road traffic collision. It's had a huge impact on the whole police community. But, you know, we are determined that the professional police service that these officers were providing will continue.
They were mostly young men who represent the full spectrum of society, some involved heavily in community work, family men, some with very young children, and some of them from extended families which are very well known in the community.
I understand one of the officers, his wife had just given birth, is that correct?
Yes, I understand that's true, so it makes this terrible event even more tragic. But I know that the prayers are being said in practically every church and chapel in Southdown this morning for the families of these bereaved, and I know the whole community will rally around and support them in these difficult times.
This is the type of 4x4 vehicle the officers were travelling in. It was still being examined at the scene this afternoon. The police ombudsman has launched an investigation into what happened. In the meantime, 4 families are coming to terms with the loss of their loved ones.
Good evening and welcome to BBC Newsline. The deaths of 4 policemen in Southdown in an early morning car crash has sent shockwaves through the Mourne area. No other vehicle was involved in the crash, which has been described as a dreadful tragedy, claiming the lives of 4 officers who were simply doing their duty. Mervyn Jess has sent this report from Warrenpoint.
The crumpled and charred wreckage of the police vehicle being lifted from the scene of the crash at the Moygannon Bridge. After colliding with the stone wall on the main Warrenpoint to Rostrevor Road, the vehicle caught fire. The 4 police officers were in a Shogun 4x4 police vehicle responding to a call when the vehicle went out of control and crashed on a corner behind me here. This is the single biggest loss of life by the PSNI since the ceasefires were declared. The Chief Constable cut a forlorn and visibly shaken figure as he walked away from the crash site where 4 of his officers had died so suddenly.
Well, our thoughts obviously are with the families who've lost their loved ones in this tragic accident. It was an awful accident. These officers were on their way to help a colleague, and sadly it would appear the vehicle went out of control and they've lost their lives as a result of doing their job. Well, certainly in my time it is unprecedented.
The 4 officers were trapped inside the crashed Shogun. The PSNI say the fire and ambulance services were quickly on the scene, but nothing could be done for the victims. This is the type of vehicle they were travelling in. Some have toughened bulletproof glass and specialised locking systems. And like other police vehicles, they're fitted with a black box type recorder. This will be a critical part of the investigation into how the tragedy happened.
The vast majority of our police vehicles are fitted with a detailed black box which will record exactly all of the details of the incident at the time. And so obviously if there is any issue with the vehicles, that will be looked into.
2 of the officers have young families, so coming up to Christmas in particular, this is a dreadful time for all concerned. But yes, it is a shocking moment for us all, and it's something I think will live with us for a very long time to come.
The policemen aged in their mid-20s to late 30s are all from the Mourne area.
The 4 constables represented the entire Mourne community. There won't be a single family in Mourne who won't have known someone who's been killed in this awful accident. And I know that prayers have been said in churches and chapels throughout the constituency for the families of the bereaved.
A senior investigating officer has been appointed to oversee the inquiry into this tragedy. The police are appealing for witnesses to the crash to get in touch with them. Mervyn Jess, BBC Newsline, Warren Point.